Morning, everybody. It is the morning of the 5th of April, 2024. It's a rather chilly day. We've had lots of rain the last 3 days. It's cool and breezy. And I don't have all my parts yet. UPS just informed me this morning that they had a delay in one of their delivery trucks coming from California. Unfortunately, that's what I need to finish up putting the intake manifold back together. It looks like I won't have that stuff until Monday next week, though, so I'm a little unhappy about that. But I still have enough small items to do that I can at least get some other things done while I'm waiting. I'm actually not that far from being able to drive this car on a regular basis, just for pleasure and enjoy it a while. Some of the things today I plan on doing, just small stuff. I managed to find one of those ignition switch bezels. I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I can find it real quick. Should have had this stuff laid out already. Yeah, here we go. This is that little black ring that goes around the ignition switch. They always seem to be missing or they fall off so easily. I was lucky. I was able to find one recently, and I cleaned it up. I'm going to glue it on. That'll be one of the small things I'm doing today. I don't remember if I showed you, but I did get my upper shock mount from Lincoln Land in Florida. It looks nice and pretty. That's the first thing I'm going to do this morning, is replace the upper shock mount on this passenger side. And I'm hopeful that maybe that will take care of that last clunk that's still on the front end. I sure hope so, because if it doesn't, that can only mean one thing, and that would be control arm bushings. And that'd be a big project again. Some of the other things I'm planning on doing is replacing the power antenna with a good use when I have, and taking care of that leaking freeze plug. So that'll keep me busy a good part of the day. So we'll see how it goes. I just wanted to illustrate the difference in the, this was the temporary shock mount that was in there. The diameter of this part that goes through the eye of the shock is... All right, the phone rang, interrupted my last transmission. I was almost done. I was just trying to illustrate the difference. It's kind of hard to tell, I suppose, in the camera, but the temporary shock mount that somebody had used before jerry-rigging it is noticeably smaller in diameter or circumference than the original equipment type, which is right here. So I'm hopeful that this will take care of that clunking that's still on the front end. So we'll see how it goes. All right, this is the replacement shock mount in place now. It looks so much better than the replacement, the temporary one that was in there. I'm really hopeful that that's going to take care of the clunking I was still hearing. We'll find out next week when I can finally drive the car again. So the next thing I'm going to do is try to drain some more coolant out of the engine, since I'm going to go replacing a expansion plug. See if I can get as much more out of it as I can, so I don't lose too much when I pop that freeze plug out. That's on the driver's side. All right, you're underneath the car with me right now. There's the offending freeze plug, the one that's been leaking. I have just enough room to snake this punch behind it so I can get the edge, which is actually what I want to do, because I got to try and pivot it. So when I pivot it, I can grab it and just pull it out the rest of the way with some pliers. And I've got my drain pan here to try and capture what is surely plenty of fluid still in the system, but I can only drain so much out at the angle it's at right now from the radiator. So we'll go from there, see how it comes out. You can see kind of the aftermath of the mess I just made. Once I popped that freeze plug loose, I got a bath here. Managed to catch a good portion of it though, so that's probably almost a gallon there. All right, I had a bit of a scare because when I punched this, it went inside the block. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get it back out, but there was still water in there, so it kind of floated around. And with a magnet and then a pair of needle nose pliers, I was able to get it turned sideways enough where I could finally grab it with the pliers and yank it out of there. So this is the leaking expansion plug, soon to be replaced by this one. And it should be a simple matter of just sliding it in and turning this nut until it expands and locks itself in place. I'm going to first do my best to wipe the edges of the block where this slides into, because the instructions say you do not put any kind of sealer or anything on there. I'm assuming because it might tend to slip out if you do, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to dry that as best I can before I install that. All right, you're looking at the installed product. Hopefully it holds. I wasn't really sure how tight to make that nut. I don't want to over tighten it in case I break it or something. Hopefully it's tight enough that it won't leak. But if it does happen to still leak, then I know I can tighten it tighter than I have it right now. So it's pretty snug, but I didn't wail on it as hard as I could. So I'm just going to leave it like it is. And then when the engine's running, when I get it running again, I'll check under here to make sure it's not leaking and hope that it won't be. So that's done. All right, for my next stack, since I'm already here at this wheel, I've already got the tire off, I'm going to go ahead and remove that splash shield and replace the power antenna. Before I do that, though, I am going to run that replacement antenna through a test to make sure it actually works properly, even though I had a video of it. I want to test it myself. Then I'll install it. I just wanted to demonstrate real quick the operation of this beautiful power antenna. I tell you, I really lucked out on this one. Got this from someone on eBay. It works beautifully. The mast is straight. I just lubricated the whole mast with WD-40 and a paper towel to kind of wipe it all out, but it works great. Much better than the one I took apart last year and tried to rebuild unsuccessfully. But this thing goes all the way out, no problem, and all the way down, no binding or anything. So I feel very lucky that I got this. Just wanted to demonstrate and install it now. All right, quick update. I took a lunch break, and before I went to lunch, I got the car back on the ground. I finished everything on the front that I wanted to do. When I came back out, I did some more detail work. I'm actually still finishing one item up. The same person that sold me the power antenna also sold me a door handle assembly. I didn't need the door handle itself, but I did need the little clips. So now I'm just missing one door's worth. I need 2 more of those clips, and I'll be done with that. Lincoln Land sold me one of these little stud things here that go on the power seat frame. That one was missing for some reason, so I'm in the process of screwing that in right now, and then I'll put the lock nut on the outside there. And they also sold me, where did I put it? The J hook and the wing nut for the hold down for the spare tire. And I don't know where I laid it right now. It's funny because I just emptied that box that it was in. But well, anyway, you've seen a J hook and the wing nut for the spare tire. I didn't have one for this car. I do now, somewhere. I don't know where it went, but anyway, I do have it. I just need to get it in the trunk of the car. But during all this time, well, let me finish one other thing, showing you one other thing I did on the inside of the car. This was a nice thing, you know, that little black ring that goes around the ignition switch. That seems to always be missing in these cars, so I glued that in place with just some silicone sealant to hold it in place. But while I was here, the UPS man came by giving me one of my 2 packages that I'm expecting. The second one not until Monday. But what he brought me today was by far the most important stuff, and it will allow me to actually finish up with the engine this weekend, maybe even today. I knew he must have the intake manifold gaskets, which is what these were because it was a long box. What I didn't expect was the other gaskets to also be in that same box, which is awesome. Water outlet gasket, I actually have an extra one. Fuel pump gasket, which I really didn't need, but it's a spare. The only thing I'm missing is the sealant, and I can get a tube of that locally. So I was very, very relieved to see that. I thought for sure this weekend was kind of a bust as far as getting the car back on the road, but now all of a sudden things look much rosier. So and the sun is even shining a little bit, so things are much happier for me right at the moment. So I'm going to finish screwing that little stud back in the seat there, seat frame, and then I'm going to go to the store and get that tube of sealant I need for the intake manifold gaskets. And then all right, you can see that I've got my intake manifold back sitting on the fender of the car. I opened up my my new gaskets here. Aren't these pretty? The last ones were gray. These are black. I think the last ones were Felpro as well, but these somehow seem like they're higher quality to me. I don't remember those metal rings being there on the last set either, so that makes me feel better too. Maybe these won't be prone to leaking like the other ones were, but I'm still going to do the ultra gray gasket maker sealer here. I bought this at Napa just a few minutes ago, and I'll have another bottle or another tube on Monday, but I'm not waiting for Monday. Reading the instructions, it says I need to, after I install the manifold, not to torque it down, just finger tight the bolts, let it sit for an hour, then torque it down. Then I have to wait 24 hours for total cure before I can fill it up with coolant. That's going to be hard for me to do, but I'll have to if I want to make sure I don't have any leaks. So that means whenever I do the torque, then 24 hours from then, which will be tomorrow afternoon or evening, Saturday, I'll have to wait till then to fill it up. But I'll be able to do everything else, hook everything back up, get it all ready to go, and that'll only leave the fill of the coolant as the last step before I can start it tomorrow. So it's going to be tricky for me to try to make all this work because I don't want to make a big mess, you know, when I have this gasket material on the outer edges here where the water jackets are. I don't want those gaskets sliding all over the place while I'm trying to put this heavy manifold in place, but I'm sure it'll work out. I just have to keep my head about me. So we'll see how this goes. All right, I've been re-preparing the surfaces. I took my drill wire brush and went over everything again on the manifold as well as here, trying to get any kind of imperfections out of there, any leftover gasket, anything at all I can find. So here's a new gasket sitting in place. I'm getting ready to put the sealant around the water jackets only, not around the intake passages themselves for the carburetor, but just the water jackets. Once I do that, I'm going to climb up here and sit right here and lift that manifold carefully into place and hope I can keep those gaskets from moving around too much. I just realized that my video had stopped recording. I don't know if you saw any of that or not, where I just laid the manifold in there. It's not all the way in place yet. I'm struggling with the bypass hose connection on the water pump, so that's what I'm working on right now. All right, I'm back here, back on top, pushing this in. Got that hose clamp repositioned on the bypass hose. That was causing me problems. I just hope that, oh boy, oh, there we go, okay. So now the manifold is pretty much where it needs to be. Now I just need to put some bolts in the corners here to hold it in place, but not torque it down yet, according to the instructions. I hope I didn't smear things around too much. I don't think I did. I pray I didn't. It would be a shame if this didn't work either. Once I get these other bolts in place to hold it from moving, I can focus on other things. All right. So, crossing my fingers that down here at this end is going to seal, because that's where it was leaking before. And man, it better after all this pain in the butt that I've been through. Okay, I'm going to pause now and start installing some more bolts to hold things in place. All right, I'm in the about halfway through the first hour of waiting before I can torque down the intake manifold bolts. They're all finger tight right now, but they're all in place now. I wanted to point out a little trick I used to the rubber band to keep this little tab on the distributor from getting caught under the intake manifold. I've made that mistake in the past, so this time I was smart enough to avoid that little issue. So I'm very hopeful that this gray, ultra gray gasket material will do the trick and we won't have any leaks. I'm real curious about that freeze plug, but won't know how that goes till tomorrow late in the day. And that bypass hose is always fun to play with. That's what was giving me trouble, just trying to get the manifold in place, but it worked out. So right now I'm just kind of waiting, and I'm going to maybe put a few things in place loosely before I torque things down. Get my torque wrench set up, get all that ready. All right, this is a wrap. It was a good day. I got a lot done. I'm very pleased. Obviously I don't have the engine running quite yet because I have to give that special sealant, that RTV sealant, 24 hours to cure, which puts me at about 5:15 Saturday afternoon, early evening, before I can fill up the cooling system with coolant again and give it a try. It better work after all this. I did the same kind of work right here. I put a new gasket in there, cleaned that all up, and I used that same sealer in that space too. That's often a source of leaks on these cars. It wasn't leaking on mine, but still, I'm not taking any chances, so I took care of that. And most things are hooked up. It won't take me long to finish hooking things up under the hood here. But of course, there's no rush since I can't start it till much later in the day. So hopefully tomorrow evening, I'll actually be able to run the car and drive it. Looking forward to it. Have a good evening.